Well, a very, very happy Friday morning to everyone. Welcome to the John Kentera Show on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Glad you could join me. Got a big weekend coming up. Big weekend. I got my hat on. I'm ready for the ball game tonight. United States taking on Brazil, their first game in the World Baseball Classic, and we're going to give you the schedule for Team USA. But I'm ready to go. I had to wear my hat today. I'm ready to go for the game tonight, 5 o'clock. Hopefully, the United States can take care of business in round robin play, get out of the bracket, and let's win that thing. Be like the U.S. women in hockey and the men in hockey. Let's bring home the championship in the WBC. Okay, we got a lot to get to today. Yesterday, unbelievable day by the Padres. We'll get into that. We'll talk about Joe Musgrove. We're going to talk about Walker Buehler. We're going to talk about Sung Moon Song. A lot to get to a little bit later on. And I brought this up on Wednesday that I already had a pretty good idea for the position players for the Padres. I've got 12 names, and they're going to keep 13 position players. I've got 12 right now, and I'll tell you about that. But we're going to talk about roster construction for the Padres. So if you're out there, you want to put your thinking cap on, remember, you got to have two catchers. Put your thinking cap on, and here in, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, I'm going to give you my opening day roster for the position players, but I'm still having problems with that 13th guy. And it could go a variety of different ways. And even after yesterday, I got to be a little bit more concerned about Sung Moon Song, but we'll get into that and give you the update on him. So be working on the roster construction for your 13-man Padres position roster, and I want you to share it with me today. As usual, order of business. If you're just tuning in for the very, very first time and want to get top-notch quality sports broadcasting, we appreciate it. Please subscribe, please like, please share, please tell a friend. And if you'd like to be a part of our Gold Glove member club, $2.99 a month. You just go to our YouTube page. It says join, click on that. It just takes a matter of seconds, and we appreciate anything you can help us out with financially with the $2.99 a month. And we also thank you for having our supers. We get supers throughout the course of the program on our questions, and we very much appreciate that. Okay, with that, we're going to start off today talking about Lou Holtz. Lou Holtz, a great college football coach for Notre Dame, won a national title in 1988. He passed away a couple of days ago at the age of 89. Okay, I didn't know Lou Holtz. I did interview him one time, and the reason I got to interview him was because I was doing a talk show with Billy Ray Smith. Billy Ray Smith was a great All-American at Arkansas when Lou Holtz rang up an incredible 60, 21, and 2 record at Arkansas. Lou Holtz had always said to me when we got interviewed by him, and Billy Ray was always with me, he always thought Billy Ray was the best player that ever played for him. And loved Billy Ray Smith. I mean, you ask him a question about Billy Ray Smith, and 20 minutes later, he'd finish his answer. Lou Holtz was an incredible man. Not only was he an outstanding coach, he had a brief fling in the NFL in 1976 with the New York Jets. Won it out, didn't like it. Was 3-10. Miserable experience, but he had a really interesting career because he started out at William and Mary. He was there for 3 years. And 13-20, and I guess probably at William and Mary, that's not a bad record. Then he moved on to North Carolina State and really started to get going. 4 years at North Carolina State, 33, 12, and 3. Then he got the Arkansas job. And 7 years down in Fayetteville, 60, 21, and 2, really got it going. Then got a big money deal to go to Minnesota. And Minnesota in those days was awful. And I'm going to tell you how bad Minnesota was. Lou Holtz was there for 2 years. And they went 10-12. And because of that great record of 10-12, he was able to parlay that into the job at Notre Dame. And he went to Notre Dame. He was there for 11 years, a 130-2 record in that 1988 national title with quarterback Tony Rice. Boy, I can remember that like it was yesterday. And then after Notre Dame, He had the itch to coach a little bit more. Won 6 years at South Carolina, won 33, 37, and then that was it. Then he got into TV, and I know he was on CBS, but I remember most with ESPN and Mark May and Reese Davis. And I would stay up late on Saturday night, hear what they had to say. I don't know why Mark May's still not on ESPN. He was really good, really good. But Lou Holtz, really a character. And I remember my wife and I, oh, this has got to be 30 years ago. We went to an appearance of Lou Holtz's down in San Diego, great motivational speaker. And let me tell you, he got a lot of money to speak at different conventions and conferences. But you see it on the internet, and I'll be damned. I still cannot figure out how he did this. He did this trick where he would have the USA Today and he would talk about the front page and the comics and the sports section. And the whole time he would be tearing the paper up, just tear it up right in front of you. And then all of a sudden he'd pull the paper out and it was all back together. It was like a magic trick. And I have watched it probably 5 times since he passed away on Wednesday. I probably watched that 5 times and I still can't figure it out. And I actually saw it live down in San Diego, down in Mission Valley, where he was speaking. And it was amazing. My wife and I, to this day, we can't figure out how he did that magic trick. But he was could be a very opinionated guy. He was a very wordsy guy, very funny man. But he also was very serious on certain things. And he went into hospice a few weeks ago, and there were premature reports that he'd passed away. And it's kind of like what I was talking about on Monday's show. You go on Facebook, and man, they got Bobby Ross dying, they got Gene Stallings dying. That's such BS. But Lou Holtz did pass away on Wednesday at the age of 89. And like I said, my only recollection of Lou Holtz as far as interviewing was when I would do a fill-in show with Billy Ray Smith. Scotty Kaplan would be off, and they'd ask me to fill in with Billy Ray, and always enjoyed working with Billy Ray. We actually did the Charger pregame talk show back in '97 together. Billy Ray, good guy. A lot of fun working with him over the years. Never full time other than that Charger pregame show. And then, I did fill in work. It'd take me off my regular show and have me work with him when his partner was maybe off or out ill. But always enjoyed working with Billy Ray. But I thought I needed to lead the show off today, talking a little bit about Coach Holtz. Okay, let's get to the Padres schedule for the weekend. Tonight, going to play a night game at 6:10 Peoria Stadium. And I got to tell you, the spring training games right now have been kind of weird because you don't have a lot of major league players playing in them. I mean, you got, the guys that are on the WBC are getting a little work here and there, and the pitchers are getting work. But, man, there are a lot of guys you have no idea. And to be honest, I haven't really enjoyed watching the spring training games as much this year. I guess as we get a little bit closer and those guys get back from the WBC, they'll be getting their innings in. I like watching young kids, but some of these games have just been ridiculous, and we'll get to that. But let me give you the schedule for this weekend so you can follow along. Tonight at Peoria Stadium at 6:10, Cubs coming over to take on the Padres. German Marquez going to make a second start. He is scheduled to throw tonight. Second one of the spring against the Giants. Kind of a mixed bag. 2 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, all earned, 2 strikeouts. In inning number 2, he pitched a lot better than he did in inning number 1. He had a couple of strikeouts in that inning, so we'll see what he brings to the table. Still competing for that 5th spot in the rotation. Tomorrow at Goodyear, a 1:05 start. Padres going to be taking on Cleveland. And then Sunday, the Padres will be back home at Peoria Stadium at 1:10 to take on the Cincinnati Reds. Okay, we're going to recap Wednesday and Thursday's game. Wednesday, Padres just played an exhibition game. Wasn't the Cactus League game. They played Great Britain. Game went 2-2 tie. Both teams had 7 hits. Padres 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. But Joe Musgrove back on the mound for the first time since September 26, 2024. And, I looked at Joe, and what I was looking for mechanics, number 1. Number 2, I was looking for velocity. He had good velocity. He was throwing 95. Joe normally throws 92 to 94. He's throwing 95. Arm looks healthy. That's the big thing. Threw a lot of breaking balls. And the first inning, he really kind of struggled in that first inning. But you know what? That's to be expected. You got to knock off that rust. So in the first inning, he won a third of an inning, gave up 3 hits, 1 run. It was earned, a walk, a strikeout, and they took him out. They took him out. You know how they take guys out during spring training and then they'll bring him back the next inning. That's what they did the next inning. And Joe came out, went scoreless the next inning, gave up 1 hit, and then started the third, got 2 outs in the third, gave up another hit, but struck out a batter on a nice curveball. So all in all, Joe's numbers were 2 innings, 5 hits, 1 run earned, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, and a wild pitch. He also had a pitch time violation. My thoughts are, and yesterday I was listening to different people break down Joe's uh, work, and they're going, well, his spin rate was good, this and that was good. Hey, the bottom line, he got better as he went. And the curveball's going to be there. I liked his mechanics. He was holding the front side of his body, working to the plate, things that I had seen when they showed his simulated game last week and some bullpens early in spring training. His mechanics, he's tightened up. I think Joe's going to be fine. My only concern is he going to be ready for the first series of the year? I don't know. So we keep talking about the fifth guy in the rotation, the fifth guy in the rotation. We may be talking about the third guy in the rotation. I'm not sure he's going to be ready. I'm really not sure he'll be ready. Now, he's going to probably pitch, I would imagine, maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll kind of see. I'm trying to find out how he felt yesterday and how he feels today. I got my sources on that right now. But overall, I saw a lot of positives. I saw a lot of positives. He was keeping his arm up. He was working in a downhill manner. I think he's going to be fine. We know he puts in the work. I'm not worried about spin rate. I'm not worried about shapes of pitches. He's going to be fine. A lot of that stuff sounds good when you're talking. Bottom line, can you get anybody out? And I think from what I saw the other day, he's going to get some people out. But I don't know conditioning wise, he's ready to go 5 or 6 innings here by March 28th. That would probably be his first start because you figure Pavetta or King are throwing on the 26th. Of those two guys that doesn't throw on the 27th or on the 26th, they'll throw on the 27th, and then Joe would be scheduled for the 28th. So we'll have to wait and see. But you know what? I saw some positives the other day. I saw some real positives. Randy Vasquez, who's supposed to be the number 4 guy, I thought Randy pitched great the other day. He went 4 innings. He'll be ready. And the thing about Randy Vasquez, this guy's really getting better. I mean, you take a look at his numbers the other day, 4 innings, 1 hit, 3 strikeouts, and he's throwing 95, 96 miles an hour. Randy Vasquez has never thrown 95, 96. Never. And now he's hard work, using the lower body a little bit better, just getting himself in the best shape. They told him, hey, last year you were in good shape, but we want you in the best shape of your life. And you know what? He's taken that and taken it to the next level. And hopefully, throwing at 95, 96, he can hold out and be able to hold that, for 4 or 5 or 6 innings. Last year I thought Mike showed. Now, this is me. And I was not one guy that was upset about Mike Schilt retiring. He got fired. Okay, and I'm going to stand behind that. Okay, I know some people. Well, yeah, but he didn't want to be here any longer. Well, you know what? They didn't want him here any longer because of the way he treated people behind the scenes. So, and I knew I've had 2 great baseball people tell me he got fired. Okay, they can couch it any way they'd like. Schultz got fired. I did not like the way he handled Randy Vasquez. In fact, I didn't really like the way he handled the pitching staff. And I said that on the podcast last year. But there were time and time again last year when Randy Vasquez would go 4 1/3. He might have a runner on or maybe 2 runners on, and he'd take him out. That's when you find out if a guy can pitch or not. Is when he's in a jam, when he's a little bit tired. Is he going to overthrow, or is he going to more is less and try to get that ground ball double play and get out of the inning? A lot of times last year, Randy Vasquez never got that opportunity because Mike Schilt wanted to go to the bullpen. And, hey, I'm not going to criticize Mike Schilt. He got the job done, 93 wins and 90 wins. Go in the playoffs 2 years in a row. He was not my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea at all as a manager. I hated the post-game press conferences because anybody that would ask him just a basic question to where it may, question his authority, he couldn't deal with it. He couldn't deal with it. I wish him the best with Baltimore. He needs to be back on the minor league level to where he doesn't have to deal with the media because I don't think he's very good with the media. Very condescending a lot of the time, wishy-washy. And, sometimes that's by design. Other times that's just who a guy is. But you know what? He always thought he was the smartest guy in the room. And I got news for you. When you're a manager, don't always be the smartest guy in the room, especially when you're dealing with your coaches and players, because you want your coaches and players to give you input. And if you're almost unapproachable, and it sounded like he was almost unapproachable, even to his coaching staff, you don't want that. You don't want that. So enough said about Mike Schild. I don't see myself talking about Mike Schild a whole lot, but the way he handled Randy Vasquez last year, I didn't really like, but Vasquez was great the other day. And then they had some minor leaguers throw the other day. At the end of the day, not a lot of action against Great Britain. They played to a 2-2 tie. Now, Thursday, Walker Buehler made his first appearance, and we got him in a Dodger uniform there. That's what I think we all remember. Last year, he pitched for Boston and pitched 3 games for Philadelphia. Was so-so with Boston, pitched very well for the Philadelphia Phillies. He went 3-0 with a 0.66 ERA. I think it was interesting when you look at his numbers yesterday. And of course, Padres won yesterday. How about this? 27-6. They had 28 hits. They hit 8 home runs. I think they had 9 doubles yesterday. But Walker Buehler yesterday, I thought, even though he got tagged for 2 earned runs in 3 innings, I thought he threw the ball pretty well. And I thought his comments afterwards yesterday were interesting. He goes, I can't be that guy any longer. Remember, he's had 2 Tommy Johns. I can't be that guy any longer just relying on my 4-seam fastball. And if you got a chance to watch the game yesterday, and I did watch it, he threw 7 sweepers yesterday, and he got 3 strikeouts on the sweeper yesterday. So, he's working on some different things right now, trying to reinvent himself. The big thing with him, his arm is healthy. He's feeling good. Maybe wasn't feeling all that great during the offseason, but everything seems to be coming together. His overall line yesterday, 3 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs, both earned, a walk, and 4 strikeouts. So not bad. First time out, he'd been throwing on the backfields and, simulated games, but not bad. And again, he's in contention for that number 5 spot. The other guy that is in contention for the number 5 spot, I don't know about this guy. And that's left-hander J.P. Sears, who came over with Mason Miller in that deal with the A's last year. J.P. Sears, there's times when I kind of like him, but more times than he gives up the long ball. He gave up 2 homers yesterday, and get in line in Arizona. That's going to happen. But yesterday, 3 innings, 2 hits, both home runs, had 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, hit a batter. So a little bit all over. I think the big thing I see with J.P. Sears sometimes, his fastball's pretty straight. At least of all, and I didn't get a chance really to watch him at length yesterday, but when I watched him last year when he came over from the A's, his fastball is just really straight. And unless he can locate that fastball, he's going to have problems. He's going to have a lot of problems. So at the end of the day, I don't know where he factors in. I mean, if he's got options, probably starts in AAA. Maybe you bring him out of the bullpen as a long reliever, but you got so many good arms in that bullpen. And we'll get into the bullpen next week a little bit. I heard Mason Miller interviewed last night. He's so excited to be on the WBC team, and we'll look forward to hopefully closing out a ball game here before too long. Hopefully we don't see him a lot. Hopefully the United States just comes out and takes care of business. But, as far as J.P. Sears, I don't know if there's going to be a spot for him in this Padre rotation. Yesterday, after he pitched, Tristan McKenzie, an inning and 2/3, 4 hits, 1 run, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, gave up a home run. I don't think he makes the ball club. I know he's got a lot of talent. I just don't see it. I mean, there's guys that have talent, but they can't get anybody out. And I think Tristan McKenzie may be one of those guys. I mean, you took him to a showcase, all the scouts would be drooling over him. but I don't know if he can get anybody out. And you look at his numbers the last few years, they haven't been all that great. So I don't know where he factors in. Let's talk a little bit about Sung Moon Song. He hit a ball yesterday about 9 miles. I think they said it went 430 feet. I mean, he crushed it. And he played shortstop yesterday. He said that was probably the first time he has played shortstop since he was like in seventh or eighth grade. Now he's played second, he's played third, his natural position. And remember, last year, he won the Gold Glove at third at the KBO. The guy can play defense. But like I mentioned the other day on the podcast, like somebody's listening to my podcast and throwing things out there. I mentioned the other day, Mason McCoy. He's the one guy in camp right now that, played with the Padres last year and the year before a little bit. They'd call him up from AAA. He's the one guy that can play all infield positions. When you keep a utility guy, they've got to be able to play shortstop. You got to have a shortstop, a backup shortstop. So they're trying to find out if Sung Moon Song can play shortstop. If he can play shortstop, then he's got a better chance of making the ball club out of training camp. And like I said, in a few minutes, we're going to talk about Padres roster construction. We'll talk more about that. But the problem yesterday was he had to leave the game early. He hurt that right oblique again. Remember, just prior, about 2 weeks before training camp, he got hurt. And it sounds like it's the same injury. Now, we don't know what degree, but we know obliques can be very, very touchy. And he left the game with, they said, right oblique tightness. And I hope that's just what it is. And hopefully, some exercising and some treatment, he'll get back out there on the field. I hope this guy doesn't miss, a month. Got to get him back out on the field. So that was good. But yesterday, 27 runs, 28 hits. Padres were 10 for 26 yesterday with runners in scoring position. They scored 12 runs in the second inning. They sent 17 batters to the plate against Seattle. That was crazy. And, that first inning, Luis Castillo was a damn good pitcher, man. He get cuffed around there. Offensively yesterday, got to talk about the offense. Freddie Fermin, the number one catcher, a guy the Padres are going to have under control for multiple years. 3 for 3 yesterday, a homer. He drove in 6. Jackson Merrill starting to heat up. 3 for 4, a double, a 2-run homer. Nick Castellanos starting to come alive, 2 for 3. His third double. Ty France, 2 for 3, 2 doubles. Miguel Andujar, 2 for 3, a second homer of spring. Jake Cronenworth, 3 for 3 yesterday. People always go, well, what's the guy doing during spring training? Well, for me, in limited time, hitting 385. Merrill hitting 333. Nick Castellanos hitting 316. Ty France, 412. Miguel Andujar, 350. Jake Cronenworth, 353. And that's what you want. You want a bunch of guys having good springs. Not that that's necessarily going to translate to the regular season. We know everybody's going to kind of fall in line and do what they normally do. But, you look at a guy like Andujar, between the A's last year and Cincinnati, he hit 318. I mean, we know if he's healthy, the guy can hit. But what I'm saying here, you got all these guys hitting for high average. You know what? They're going to make the decisions for the Padre front office that much more difficult. And that's what you want. You don't want a bunch of easy decisions because that means there hasn't been great competition and you don't have a lot of depth in your organization. Now, I don't know who's going to make this roster. I am going to tell you here in a couple of minutes who I've got with the position players. Just a couple of other quick Padre notes. Matt Waldron, remember he had hemorrhoid surgery and they had to drain some fluid from his derriere a couple of weeks ago. He was back out there yesterday throwing a bullpen, missed 2 weeks, but threw a bullpen yesterday. And Jason Adam coming back from that ruptured quad tendon back at camp. Now, think about that. I heard this the other day. I go, oh, my God. We talk about Phillip Rivers having all the kids. How about Jason Adam? His wife just gave birth to their 5th daughter. They got 5 daughters. I have 2. I got 4 granddaughters. He's got 5 daughters. Best of luck to you on that one. But he didn't get his boy this time. I wonder if they're going to try again. But congratulations to Jason Adam and his wife and the entire family on the birth of his 5th daughter. So back at camp today. Supposed to, he threw a bullpen or a little light bullpen 2 days ago. Going to throw a simulated game today. So hopefully that goes well They would like him to be able to start the year with the big club, but they're going to go very, very carefully with him, kind of like Griffin Canning. I mentioned Griffin Canning coming back from the Achilles. They're going to go very slow with him, and I'm sure we're going to see Jason Adam before we see Griffin Canning. Even though Canning's throwing bullpens, looking good, from what I understand, still covering first, fielding bunts, comebackers having to move. They're going to go very, very slow with Griffin Canning, and they're going to do that to a certain degree with Jason Adam. But Jason's coming along really, really nicely right now. In fact, I've seen him do some PFP drills in spring training on tape, and he actually looks pretty good. Okay, let's get to the Padres roster construction, and then we're going to be getting out to your questions here. I will give you the WBC schedule before we get out to Coach's Crew. Now, I've asked you, and I told you the other day, I put something up on Facebook, and we're going to talk about roster construction. So I would like, some people to kind of weigh in on this. I think I'm in pretty good shape here. Okay, behind the plate, I think it's pretty simple. It's going to be Freddie Fermin and Luis Camposano. I don't think we can argue. There's nobody else in competition. Okay, first base, you got Gavin Sheets. Second base, you got Jake Cronenworth. Shortstop, you got Xander Bogaerts. Manny at third. The outfield, pretty solid. Ramon Laureano in left. Jackson Merrill in center. Fernando Tatis Jr. Okay, that's your defense. And then I think you got Nick Castellanos starting the year. I'm sure he'll definitely be starting the year because they're going to get Tarek Skubal and maybe Framber Valdez in successive days to open up. Man, I hope the Padres can score on these guys. I mean, not too many people score on those guys. And then maybe Verlander in the final game. We'll have to wait and see what AJ Hinch is looking to do. So, again, my starting 8 defenders. You got Freddie Fermin, Gavin Sheets, Jay Cronenworth, Xander Bogaerts, Manny Machado, Laureano, Merrill, Tatis Jr., and then your backup catcher is Luis Camposano, Castellanos, the designated hitter. Now on the bench, here's what I got on the bench. I definitely have Miguel Andujar and Ty France. I don't know how you're going to split up time. Now, Ty played a little third base yesterday, but he's not going to get much time at third base with Manny Machado. But Ty France, I like him. It's not only because he's from San Diego State. I think he's a damn good major league player. And maybe a platoon guy against left-handed pitching. But Miguel Andujar is a proven hitter. When healthy, the guy can really swing the pole. Okay, so I've got those two guys. So that's 12. Now here's what I'm struggling with right now. Sung Moon Song, I would like to see make the team, but then yesterday he goes down with the oblique tightness in the right side. Alex Verdugo, who's in camp on a minor league contract, just got there this week. Been playing in some scrimmages, taking a lot of batting practice, getting his work in. He hasn't been great the last couple of years. Kind of bounced around. He kind of got caught up there. I think in Boston a few years ago, he had some good years when he came over from the Dodgers to Boston. He had some good years, but I think he kind of got caught up in the youth movement there and lost playing time, and eventually, has bounced around to a couple of different organizations in the last couple of years. I still think at 29, he's going to turn 30 here before too long. I still think he is a worthy major league player, but I don't know if he's going to be ready. Might start the year in the minors. He may have an out and say, hey, I'm not going to the minors. I want to be on a big league roster. I'll go somewhere else. And I'm sure his agent will be working on that. And then you got Mason McCoy, who can play shortstop. And like I said, if you can play shortstop, you're a utility guy. It gives you one up on another guy that you're competing with. And I think he's probably competing with Sun Moon Song. But again, Verdugo's a left-handed bat, Sun Moon Song's a left-hand bat, and Mason McCoy a right-handed bat. And we don't really know, how he's going to hit day in and day out. And chances are, if Bogaerts went down for an extended period of time, McCoy would just be a stopgap, and they'd have to, go out and make some kind of deal with an organization. And Bogaerts were to be out for a long period of time. Now, the other guy that we could talk about. And I thought he did a really nice job last year. I think he's a fifth outfielder more than a fourth, and that's Bryce Johnson. Bryce Johnson can play all three outfield spots. He's a switch hitter, runs extremely well. We've seen him a lot as a pinch runner late in ball games. He can lay down bunts. I mean, he's a real good utility outfielder. But to me, he's more of a fifth outfielder than he is a fourth outfielder. So you got to figure out, I got the 12 guys. I got Sun Moon Song there. I got Verdugo. I got McCoy. I throw in Bryce Johnson. I don't know who to go with. If Verdugo was the Verdugo of 3-4 years ago, I'd have no problem. But I got to see more of him. I got to see him in some big league games. I got to see what kind of shape he's in. And we also have to take a look at the health of Sun Moon Song. Having Sun Moon Song start the year in El Paso, that's not the worst thing that can happen. Because at some point in time, he is going to come up. Remember, he signed a 4-year deal for $15 million. I mean, not a ton of money. And if it takes him, a month or two, or maybe a half a season down in AAA, work him at shortstop, work him at second base, work him at third base, and then he may be a little bit better prepared to be up here with the big club. But that's the way I'm looking at it right now. So, again, if you're just tuning in, I got Freddie Fermin and Camposano behind the plate, Gavin Sheets, Jake Cronenworth, Bogarts, Machado, Laureano, Merrill, Tatis Jr., Castellanos is the designated hitter. And right now, my two bench guys would be Miguel Andujar and Ty France. I got one guy to go. And I'm going to reserve the right to wait on that because there are a lot of variables. I need to know more about Verdugo. I need to know about the health of Sun Moon Song. And I know what I'm getting in McCoy and with Bryce Johnson. But I think it comes down to Sun Moon Song and Alex Verdugo right now. That's my take. Okay, real quickly, I want to give you the WBC schedule for their games. They start tonight at 5:00. I'll be tuned in. They're taking on Brazil. Logan Webb going to be on the mound. Saturday, 5:00. Great Britain going against the United States. Welcome Tarek Skubal. Now, this is going to be Skubal's only start. He's only pitching in one game in the World Baseball Classic. Then the team will be off on Sunday, and then they go again Monday. They got Mexico. That'll be a hell of a game. That will be a hell of a game. Paul Skeen's going to be on the hill. And you kind of wonder, whether it's Logan Webb or Skubal or Skeens. And Nolan McLean is supposed to make the start. He could be in question a little bit. He's supposed to pitch on Tuesday against Italy. It'll be interesting to see how long these guys go. The bullpen is deep. But it will be interesting to see how long these guys are able to go. I can't imagine them going more than probably 3 innings. That's kind of what I'm thinking right now. Okay, let's get out to Coach's Crew. I want to get some questions today. Then I'm going to get you some college basketball. We'll get to Coach's Mailbag. But Coach's Crew, what's on your mind? Give me your roster construction. You got it out there. Let's see what we got. Javier, Coach, what does it take to be a great manager in today's game compared to the past? Well, I think communication would be number one. Great baseball knowledge, making sure that you're communicating with your coaching staff and with the veterans on your ball club. One of the things, and I can only speak for myself, one of the things that I always tried to do, whether it was in high school or college or whenever I was managing at any level, was try to touch my players every day. And what I mean by that, during BP or in the dugout, guys getting water, make sure, hey, how you doing today? How you feel? What's going on? Just let them know that you care about them more than as a baseball player. How's your wife? How's your kid? I saw your kid out hitting the wiffle ball the other day. He looked pretty good. Stuff like that. Be engaged in your players. Care about your players. I think a lot of the strategy is pretty basic. I mean, when you should bunt, when you should try to steal, normally when to take out a pitcher. Usually the hitters make that decision for you, the way they're swinging at your pitcher. But communication, I think, is really big. And I also think you've got to have very few rules, but the rules you have, hustling out. And now I want to say this. Okay, because I know one thing that gripes me when I'm watching a ball game is when a guy doesn't hustle down the line. I've always had a problem with that. But the thing you don't know, and we don't know, it's kind of like with pitchers. Why didn't this guy come out of the bullpen tonight? Well, maybe he's a little sore. Maybe he's got a tender elbow. Maybe he's got a tender shoulder. A lot of times over 162 games, especially for the guys that are playing day in and day out, I mean, running down the line, they may, especially a day game after a night game, their legs may be a little bit stiff and sore. And now you're going to try to dig out a ball, uh, a routine ground ball to second base, and you're going to go full bore just because that's the way you're supposed to play the game. Well, sometimes you got to save yourself, and sometimes the manager say, "Hey, man, don't blow it out going to first base on a routine ball. Just take it easy. We don't need any injuries." So a little bit different nowadays at the big league level than it was maybe, 30 or 40 or 50 years ago. So you got to know your players. You got to know who's can give you what he can give you on that day. I mean, nobody after the start of the year, nobody's 100%. Nobody's 100%. But give me 100% of the 90 that you got. You got 90 today. Give me 100% of that 90. That's all you can ask. But I think communication is really the big one. Let them know that you care about them. A lot of managers, when they get the old RA, the red ass, when they're losing a couple of games, they get tight, and when they get tight, their players start to play tight. I'm a big believer, and I had a great conversation with Andy Fee, the director of athletics, last week prior to a basketball game. We are talking about coaching, primarily coaching college baseball, and they got a good coach out there, and Coach Newman at UC San Diego. I'm looking forward. I'm going to do 3 games when they play Riverside coming up. They asked me if I'd do 3 baseball games, the color analyst, so I'm going to do that. But we're just kind of talking about it's better to undercoach players really in all sports rather than overcoach them. You don't want your team to be robots and mechanical. You want them to play free and easy. So it's a little bit better to undercoach than overcoach and control every pitch. I mean, I got to be honest with you. This pitch calling in college baseball drives me crazy. You got to teach your catcher how to run a ball game. And if you're doing that in bullpens and scrimmages during the fall, you don't need to call every gate pitch. Call critical pitches, when the game's on the line. But you don't need to call a pitch in the first or second or third or fourth inning. Let the catcher learn how to catch and call a game. We're crying out loud. Coaches want to have way too much control. Let your players play the game and enjoy the game. Okay, Javier, thank you very much. Hope that answered your question. All right, Big Casey King. Good morning, Coach, and a cool hat. Thanks. What do you think the chances of Santiago Espinal making my Dodgers for a bench spot as he looked good during spring training? Yeah, he has looked good. You know what? I believe he's 31 years of age, if I'm not mistaken. People really don't know a lot about him, but I will tell you this. He does a really good job at hitting left-handed pitching. I think he's like a 291 career hitter, 290 career hitter against left-handed pitching. And I think he's got a chance to make the team because of Tommy Edman being down. If Tommy were healthy, then Espinal probably wouldn't make the squad. But you know what? They can keep him and see what kind of start he gets off. But everybody's telling me it sounds like he's going to make it. In fact, Dave Roberts made some statements yesterday making it sound like Espinal will be on the opening day roster. That's what I'm hearing right now. Casey, thank you very much. All right, Jonathan, Coach, do you think the Padres win 88 plus games this season? What do you see in the future for this season? Yeah, I think they win 88. I don't know if they get to 90, but I think they win 88. I think they got a better team this year than they did a year ago. Plus, they're going to have Musgrove back in the lineup. Randy Vasquez is going to be better. We'll figure out that number 5 spot here pretty soon, but their everyday lineup ought to be better. I mean, I go back to last year. I mean, you had Martin Maldonado and Elias Diaz. Your catching situation offensively is better with Fermin and with Camposano. I know Camposano went 0 for 21 last year, but I'll blame that on Camposano and how he was used by the manager, Mike Schilt. Left field, you're going to get a much more dynamic left field. I don't care who you put out there, whether it's Gavin Sheets, who's going to probably primarily play first base, but you got Laureano, you got Miguel Andujar, maybe an Alex Verdugo. You're going to get more out of that left field spot. Heck, If you just had Ramon Laureano do what he did a year ago, he hit 24 home runs combined, uh, where he was and where he ended up here in San Diego. That's pretty doggone good for a left fielder. So I think they're going to be better. And you're hoping, knock on wood, you're hoping Jackson Merrill can stay healthy. If he stays healthy, he'll hit 20 to 25 home runs this year. So I like the everyday lineup a lot better than I did a year ago when they broke camp. All right, what else we got here? All right, Isabella. Hi, Coach. As a Dodger fan, it's weird seeing Walker Buehler in Padres uni. Love the show. Thank you very much. Yeah, it is. And hopefully he can pitch as well as he did in the Dodger uni. That's about all I can say on that. I thought he threw the ball pretty well yesterday, even though he got nicked for a couple of runs in 3 innings. I thought he threw the ball pretty well. And at this point, I just want guys to be healthy. First time out, like Musgrove, just go out there, get out of it healthy, feel good, and do a little bit better next time out. Extend. Hopefully, he can go 4 innings next time out. Now, I'm sure he'll probably pitch the middle of this coming week. Isabel, thank you very much. Okay, college basketball. Holy Toledo. Tonight, big game. Well, you're not going to believe this, folks. Tonight, San Diego State plays UNLV. UNLV playing good. They beat the hell out of Utah State um, earlier this week. They're 16 and 14 overall, 11 and 8 in conference. Aztecs 19 and 10, 13 and 6. Final regular season game. Now, here's what happens. New Mexico got run off the court at the pit the other night. They win that game the other night. They play tomorrow at Utah State. They'd have won that game. They'd have won the outright title, but they still got a chance. But you're not going to believe this. San Diego State still has a chance to win the title, or at least get a share of it. Here's what has to happen. San Diego State has to win tonight. They win tonight, and then they're going to be rooting like hell for Eric Olin and the New Mexico Lobos tomorrow morning. Okay, going to be an early morning game, I think 11 o'clock. Utah State wins tomorrow. They're the outright champ. But if the Aztecs win tonight and New Mexico goes to Utah State, they go into Logan tomorrow and they win, you got a three-way tie for the Mountain West Championship regular season. So how about that? Isn't that amazing? That's amazing. And if San Diego State were to lose tonight and New Mexico wins tomorrow, New Mexico would share the title with Utah State. So there you have it. We'll see what happens. Last night, my UC San Diego Tritons, they had a 12-point lead. They had a 10-point lead at halftime. They couldn't close it out. They got outscored 46-32 in the second half. This is a weird game. They shot 3 free throws. They shot 3 free throws. I think Cal State Fullerton shot like 9. Okay, the officiating was they let guys play last night, almost to the detriment of both ball clubs. But Cal State Fullerton came back and won by 4, 75-71, and now you've got a fourth place tie with 4 teams tied: UC Davis, Santa Barbara, Cal State Fullerton, and UC San Diego, all tied for fourth. And fourth is huge. If you finish in fourth, you only got to win 3 games in 3 days. If you finish 5 through 8, you got to win 4 games in 4 days, and that's very difficult. The Tritons close out the regular season tomorrow night up at the Thunderdome, taking on UC Santa Barbara. So might have let a good opportunity go by the wayside. How about a surprise here in the West Coast Conference Tournament? USD, Steve Lavin coaching, and as soon as they get eliminated, he's done as a head coach. They won their first tournament game. First round game, they beat Loyola last night, 66-62. Tonight, they take on Seattle University. Seattle University, a good team, 19-12. So the Toreros get a win in the conference tournament. Wouldn't that be something like Dan Munson did 2 years ago? He gets fired, but he goes on and wins the Big West championship and ended up going to the NCAAs, even though he knew he was out of a job. Wow, pretty amazing stuff. Okay, let's get to Coach's Mailbag. User 6545. What is going wrong with San Diego State basketball? Seems like a complete 180. Well, they just look disjointed. They only got a couple of guys that can score. They're not rebounding. The other night they got out rebounded 37-15, out rebounded 12-2 on offensive rebounds. They didn't have an offensive rebounds for the first 25 minutes. How does that happen? Well, the talent San Diego State has, how does that happen? Well, it's effort, attitude, and desire. To be a good rebounder, you got to block out and you got to be physical and go to the basketball. And they did a very poor job of that the other night. They just didn't have the effort, didn't deserve to win that game the other night. And they certainly got outworked. That's for damn sure. Thank you very much. We'll see what they can do tonight. Remember, it's tonight. Yeah, they're not playing Saturday. They're playing Friday night. Thomas, what new player will have the biggest impact on the team this year? Um, that's a good question. I would think Nick Castellanos. If he's here the entire year, I would think he would have an impact because the guy's a proven big league hitter. You know, he's hit a lot of home runs, hit 17 last year with Philadelphia, drives in runs. I would think he's going to have an impact on this team. The other guy that I think will have an impact over the course of 162 games is Freddie Fermin. I don't know how many games Freddie's going to catch. You got to be careful because he's never caught a ton of games in the big leagues because of being in Kansas City and playing behind Salvador Perez. But I think he'll have an impact with the pitching staff, good catcher, a good thrower, and he swings the bat. And I think he's going to have an impact offensively on this ball club down in the bottom third of the order. Thomas, thank you very much. Okay, Labrats, what's your favorite ballpark food? I'm pretty basic. I love hot dog, good hot dog. Love a good hot dog and love a bag of peanuts and a nice Coke. I'm not, nachos are great. I like nachos. I don't usually go get Cardiff crack at the ball club because I live close to Cardiff and we'll pick that up from time to time, normally for a Sunday dinner. Spiro's, I used to do their commercials. They've got their spot out there. I like their food. They got great food, great food. But I'm pretty basic. You know why? Because I don't like standing in line. I don't like standing in line. Just give me a hot dog. Let me put some mustard and relish on it, little onions if they have them. Get me a bag of peanuts and a Coke. And that was kind of like Randy Jones and I. Randy always brought me a bag of peanuts. He'd normally fire them in the press box and hit me upside the head with them. But love my shelled peanuts. Love those. Thank you very much. Very much appreciate that. Okay, Paul, here's an old school question. What do you think of Steve Garvey? Huge Dodger fan, been a fan of your show for many, many years. Thank you. Paul, I'll be honest with you, and I know I'm in the minority, but the only thing that I would say about Steve Garvey is I think Steve Garvey is very worthy of the Baseball Hall of Fame. That's my opinion. I know he had some indiscretions at the end of his career when he was here in San Diego, and I don't know if that played a part in it. But if you look at his numbers, yeah, granted, he didn't hit a million home runs like some of these guys that are in the Hall of Fame, but he had a great career. And the thing that I would also point out, if you look at his postseason numbers are absolutely off the chart. And you go back and look at a lot of other Hall of Famers numbers, he dwarfs them. He dwarfs them because he had some big years in the postseason. I think he's worthy of being in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I know a lot of people will disagree with me on that. Randy Jones disagreed with me on that. But I think Garvey, and not that Garvey was my favorite player of all time, because he wasn't. And I remember him, obviously with the Padres, but, his Padre tenure, 84, they got to the World Series and the big home run, but his numbers weren't off the chart. I mean, his last couple of years were not great. But he had those years with the Dodgers where he put up big regular season numbers. He was a good first baseman. I wouldn't say a gold glove first baseman. I know he had that consecutive airless streak, but there were times when he probably should have thrown the ball to second base on a forced play and he'd look and he'd take it to first base. And I'm not going to sit here and bag on Garfield. I like Steve, and I've interviewed Steve. And once upon a time, I actually worked with Steve back in early in my radio career. He had a show on 690. It wasn't a sports show. It was just kind of a Steve Garvey show. But that only lasted for about 6 months. But I do think he should be in the Hall of Fame. But for whatever reason, the voters have never gone that direction with him. All right, Paul, thank you very much. Very much appreciate the loyalty as well. Okay, that's going to do it today. Good show, gang. Good show. We'll be back in on Monday. We'll have a lot to break down. We'll break down the Padre weekend. We'll break down college basketball. We'll get you caught up on the WBC. Hope everyone enjoys the WBC. Remember, please subscribe if you haven't already. Please like, please share, please tell a friend. And again, if you'd like to be a part of our Gold Glove membership, $2.99 a month. You just do that by hit join on our YouTube page. And again, thank you to everyone for tuning in. For Jonathan Oliveri, Coach John Kentera, have a great and safe weekend. I'll talk to you again on Monday morning at 9 a.m. Bye-bye.